about to tell us his view on this question that just won't go away, Minister, nationalisation. But also I want you to comment on privatisation, because sometimes the private sector do the job better than the public sector. But let's start with the nationalisation issue. When is it going to be put to bed once and for all, and we can move on?
The ANC had, out of its National General Council, established a task team of experts to investigate this question and find means and ways we can introduce to optimize the use of our mineral resources. As you would remember, already all minerals beneath the soil are owned by the state. So the Freedom Charter had never raised the issue of privatizing mining companies. But that notwithstanding, the ANC processes are ongoing. The report was ready, as Mr. Kwede Mantashe indicated, to be presented at the last National Executive Committee. But we asked that it be amended so that it's made user-friendly for our branches to engage with towards our policy conference in June next year and the national conference in December.
Can you give us a hint? What's in there?
Well, it wasn't presented. It was referred back to the team for rewriting. I don't see the ANC changing its policy, its mixed economic policy approach, where the private sector and the public sector both have an important role to play in the economy. I think that policy has done well for us up till now. We've got to continue supporting that policy approach, bearing in mind the economic climate globally that we're in. The manner in which we engage in these debates, and that's the point the ANC has been emphasizing, both by the proponents and the opponents of nationalization, must be sensitive, careful, and mindful of the interests of the country. We would be naive to argue that the country hasn't been impacted negatively by the ferocious and atrocious and acrimonious debate that's taken place in public. We need cool heads to engage in this discussion and take decisions that are going to be best for the South African economy, bearing in mind, one, that ours is still an economy that was established on the back of the mineral energy sector. Secondly, that we need to move towards beneficiation, industrialization, the development of downstream sectors, using our minerals in order to industrialize the country and develop high value products and skills, but also do so in a manner that is going to support the local communities in which these mines are located. So that is what I see unfolding going towards Mangaung 2012 December. Is there any state-owned enterprise that we want to privatize? I don't think so. I think the issue of privatization vis-a-vis nationalization must not be viewed from an ideological orthodox perspective. It must continue as the approach has been until now, to be based on weighing the balance of evidence in each respective case. So you can't take an in principle view that you are either going to nationalize or privatize. You must work on the basis of what is pertaining in each sector at each given moment. At this present moment, we don't think that there is any state-owned enterprise that we have the appetite to privatize.
What about Eskom? You're trying to raise lots of money, maybe sell some shares, retain the majority interest in the entity, and that way, us as the consumers won't have to bear the brunt of increased tariffs because you'll have raised the cash through a share issue.
In actual fact, that would be a fallacy. The South African energy sector was for long based on cheap coal, which meant that even the price of our electricity was cheap. But even as we increased the tariffs in the recent months, we still remain one of the cheapest energy producers in the world. Now, our tariffs still remain competitive, but we are mindful of the impact of a drastic rise in the tariffs on consumers. And that is why we are continuing to engage at the level of government. Unfortunately, I represent ESCOM, which applies for the tariffs. The energy regulator applies its mind on the requisite tariffs based on the model and the formula that's been agreed to decide what ultimate tariffs ranges are going to be. But we think that it's necessary for the country to engage in a discussion about energy, rail and port tariffs that are going to be able to support our infrastructure build program. Because ESCOM and Transnet don't receive money from the fiscus in order to invest in infrastructure development. Now, somebody has to pay for the infrastructure, for the maintenance and upkeep of the infrastructure that's available, as well as for the new infrastructure. There is a role for the private sector in terms of renewable energy. But in terms of providing the base load of electricity that will keep the economy going, industries running, and the country alight, you need ESCOM and you need the state playing its principal role. Because when the lights go off, people don't blame anybody else but the government. And so we must undertake our responsibilities.
All right, okay. Enough talking from me, I think. Let's go now to our audience. Table number 13, I think we've got, is that Grathel Mutau? Grathel? Table number 13. You have a question for the Minister.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Minister. My question relates to the public wage sector, the public sector bill that is raising, that the Minister of Finance has raised in his budget speech in February, and he also repeated the same call again in October. Now, I just want to understand from in terms of your point of view, Minister, with regard to the department that you're managing, DPE, as well as the entities that you are managing, and obviously one would understand that the entities that you are managing are corporatized. How are you dealing with this issue, Minister, to make sure that there's still job creation is still achieved, as well as job preservation, but also ensuring that we do more with little that we have? Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Minister of Public Enterprises had last year appointed a review panel on remuneration in state-owned enterprises, looking at the remuneration policies of the boards as well as the executive managers. The panel submitted its report, which we took to Cabinet, and Cabinet agreed to do more work in terms of finalizing that report. Yes, we are all concerned about the skyrocketing wages and salaries in the public and the private sectors, where there are exorbitant bonuses, sometimes unlinked to performance and the meeting of targets and key performance indicators. In that regard, we have taken a view in the last AGMs that there will be no increases on the remuneration of the boards and the CEOs until such time as we finalize the policy. But this policy, I think, will have to bear in mind, on the one hand, the fact that these are commercial enterprises that need to attract high levels of skills and need to be able to function commercially, productively, and be viable. So you need to remunerate your executives at competitive levels, but at the same time, you must balance that with the fact that the state-owned companies are public enterprises, and I think that it is possible for us to remunerate our executives in the state-owned companies in a manner that is peculiar to them, and we shouldn't try to compete with the private sector. And having said that, I think the private sector also needs to have soul searching about its remuneration policies.
All right, Minister, we're going to leave it there for the time being. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue taking questions, and I think we'll start even taking questions from our viewers, but certainly the audience here have got a pile of questions for you, and we'll go through them. So let's take that break, and when we return, more questions from you at home as well as the audience here.